qualified in 4 regional races for the national championships. And Chris Fowler, we should see a closer race in the boys division than we did in the ladies.
I think so, Marty. We're expecting a tighter pack of runners here. A lot of depth in this field, but it's also a little bit unpredictable. These runners are always improving from their regional races. A lot of guys may have sandbagged in those regional races. Also, there's a lot of pressure here. This is the biggest run of the lives for these runners. We don't know how they'll react to that pressure.
Okay, great miler Eamonn Coghlan is the honorary starter. Let's go to the start right now.
Number 63, he's run 9:11.
As the runners do their final strides, this is a time of great nervous energy as each of the runners is introduced individually, as they well deserve to be getting here to the national finals.
Where he's considered chairman of the board.
Runner set.
And unlike the girls' race, no one goes down on this start in cross-country running when the gun goes off. You've got to forget all the manners that your mother taught you. The early leader, number 76 in red from Longwood, Florida. He's only a sophomore. It's Teddy Mitchell. And just off of him, Chip Smith in white from Albuquerque, New Mexico, a 4:08 miler last year. Top returning miler in the country, as Teddy Mitchell flies down the first hill, as the underclassmen who have made it to this meet have done in the past. They'll find out in about 2 miles whether it was a wise move, as number 98 in white, Christian Lewis from Spokane, Washington, a junior, moves up on Teddy Mitchell's shoulder. And just off of their pace in white, also from the Western Regional, Chip Smith. Perfect conditions here in San Diego. The course is a 2-lap, 3.1-mile race with 2 large hills in it and a lot of flat running. But tactics are very important in cross-country running. Although it seems like one of the most basic endeavors in sport, pacing yourself in a cross-country race is one of the most difficult things to do, especially in a race such as this, when you're running against people that you've never met before. Chip Smith on the left, number 92 in white, is one of the favorites in this race, and as the top returning high school miler in the country, we talked to him about his strategy in this race.
Just run my own race mainly, you know. I've got to get out and do what I know, what I can do. I'm a miler mainly in track, so I've got, you know, pretty good speed. So I'd like to wait and see for a kick, but, you know, if the race starts to take off on the hill, you know, I hope I'm prepared for that too.
Well, Chip Smith is currently in second place. His teammate Christian Lewis from Spokane, Washington, taking the lead, and Christian Lewis has had an undefeated season up in the state of Washington. He's the state champ up there, ran 4:17 for the mile as a sophomore, and now Bob Kennedy from Westerville, Ohio, in the black, moves up even with Chip Smith. That's Kennedy on the left, and in the center, number 82 in black, Harley Hanson, 3-time South Dakota state champion. And then in the red, just behind them, number 71, Travis Grindstaff of Atlanta. He's a 3-time Georgia state champion. So the first 4 runners, all state champions of their respective states. And the early pace looks quick. Bobby Kennedy glancing at the competition as he puts in some small surges. And we talked earlier with Travis Grindstaff about race strategy.
You know, you really establish yourself just by making it to this meet. You know, most coaches, most people in running realize that making it to this meet is really, you know, speaks for itself. And I think the trick to running this kind of race is just to relax the 2 days before the race, and then when the gun goes off race, when you hit the finish line, it's over, and then, you know, don't lose any more sleep over it than that. What I like best about cross country would be the unevenness of the terrain. It makes it a lot harder, and you really got to have a lot more strength in cross country than you do on the track or the roads.
And this is where the strength is needed as they attack the hill for the first time. Chip Smith in white, number 92, mentioned in his interview that the hill loomed as a strategic point for him on the course. And now 81, Bob Kennedy, attacks the hill, and Chip Smith falls off the pace with Harley Hanson from South Dakota going with Kennedy as they break open the race. We'll be back with more of the race after this Kinney moment. Every year, only 15 boys can be All-Americans, and that leads to some fantastic finishes. Back at the boys' race, Bob Kennedy continues to lead Harley Hanson, and then Travis Grindstaff of Atlanta and John Sence in black from the Midwest now moves into third place. Well, Bobby Kennedy comes into this race a heavy favorite. He ran 4:10 in the mile last year, and now he's trying to put on a surge. And as all great runners do, instead of increasing his stride length to pick up the pace, he increases his cadence. Well, less than halfway through the course, Bob Kennedy leads over a whole slew of state champions, and this course has humbled great runners in the past. We talked to Bob Kennedy about his strategy for today's race.
My strategy for this race are basically just run the best I can because, you know, it's the 32 best runners in the nation here, and everybody's going to be fighting. So if I run my best, I think I got a good shot.
Well, it's an emotional day for all of these high school runners, many of them running the last race of their high school careers, and some of the underclassmen, of course, running the biggest race of their life, as Bobby Kennedy continues to lead from a great pack of high school runners who had to qualify in 4 regional Kinney races around the country. Bob Kennedy occasionally glancing back to check on the competition, which is sometimes a sign of curiosity and other times a sign of worry, as Harley Hanson runs a strong race now in second place, and then John Sence, the third Midwestern runner, is in third place. John Sence is from Milford, Ohio, a senior, and was second in the state cross-country race this year, losing to Bob Kennedy. Harley Hanson in second here is the defending 1- and 2-mile state champion in South Dakota. He'll need some good speed to catch Bob Kennedy, who's gone out in front from the half-mile on, turning this into a race of attrition. He's really putting the burners on early in the race, and we'll see if he can hold on as the runners enter the second half of the race. Not everyone is on all the time, but it's a privilege just to be here, and hopefully that won't be lost on some of these runners running less than their best race. For many runners, getting to the national championship has been a career-long goal, and the intense buildup of the state and regional races sometimes take their toll. But for Bob Kennedy, it's been a great season. He's trained through the early races and peaked perfectly for the Kinney Nationals. Right now, Harley Hanson has a battle on his hand with his teammate John Sence as they go up the big hill for the second and final time. A huge crowd awaits the finishers now as they come down the hill for the final time. With the Midwest occupying the top 3 spots, the rest of the country is really fighting for the battle for the other remaining All-American places. Chip Smith and John Horkheimer in blue there, battling now for 4th place as they come down the hill. So John Horkheimer holds on to 4th place right now, and if he could get into the top 5, it'd be a big upset. He was only 5th in his regional qualifying race. And Bob Kennedy looks to have the win in hand, continuing his undefeated ways. Behind him, the sprint for All-American is on. And here's second place, John Sence from Milford, Ohio, then Harley Hanson of South Dakota. And look at this battle. Chip Smith for 4th, John Horkheimer for 5th. And we'll be right back to talk with the men's winner after this. So the national championships, almost a replay of the Ohio State Championships. Kennedy and Sence 1-2. Harley Hanson got third. John Horkheimer of New York, a surprising fifth. Randy Snyder of Kinney Shoes presenting the winners' trophies to Kira Jorgensen and Bob Kennedy. The top 15 girls and the top 15 boys in each of the races will be accorded All-American status. And though cross-country running and training may be lonely at times, at least at the end of the season, you know where you stand. Kira Jorgensen and Bob Kennedy know that they won the Kinney, and they are the best cross-country runners in the United States. For Chris Fowler, I'm Marty LaCourie. Thanks for joining us.